in this more realistic market where things are harder, you have to take a lot more effort. That's a big thing we're hearing across the board. It's taking a lot more work to get a deal over the line. It's not just, here's a proposal and they sign. So marketing is not just there to sit back and go, okay, well, let's wait till the opportunity comes in. Marketing should be there as a supportive tool in terms of proactive action. Everyone you interact with is a potential ambassador.
Always.
But they can only be a better ambassador the better interaction that they've had with you.
Yes.
And how much you've educated and informed them. And so having a lot of chats with a lot of builders, we hear.
Welcome to the Inspired Builders podcast, your source for game-changing conversations with Australia and New Zealand's leading builders and industry experts. Each week, we deliver real stories and proven strategies from those who've been in your shoes. Ready to build something remarkable? Let's dive in.
This podcast we are wanting to record because there's been a few discussions internally as we are always pushing, always brainstorming, always building new ideas, always looking for new ways in which to use our content and material, our clients, our builders' stories, and how to teach them how to do that. And then I've just found, and the whole team has found, in having many discussions with our builders, we'll share a new idea with them. And so often we're creating ideas, coming up with ideas specific to that builder, to their goals, their desires, their market, their niche. And then we'll share an idea like, why don't you use it like this? Why don't you try this? Why don't you use this tool? And often the response is, wow, I never thought of doing that. Or, oh, that's a great idea. I never put those two things together. Or I never thought of marketing like that. And yeah, I just had a chat with a builder the other day who we've recorded a podcast with him and he reached out and said, hey, do you mind if we just catch up? Just very briefly every now and again. I just really like having chats with you. It just gets me thinking a different way. And so I was like, sure. From my side, we're big on changing the industry. So we want to help as many people as we can.
Exactly.
Those kind of conversations also push me to come up with new ideas.
Yeah.
Think creatively and also keep my finger on the pulse in terms of, okay, what actually works? There's theory and then there's what works. And so having a lot of chats with a lot of builders, we hear what works.
That's right.
And
how many builders do you chat to a year, just off topic?
I don't know, man. Hundreds.
Yeah. And it's heaps of conversations, different mindsets, different way of doing things. Yeah. So you gather like a lot of info. And data.
Often it's from the same builder. So it's not just one builder one time. Obviously with our clients, I'm talking to them very often.
Yep.
Some want to interact with us more often. Some of them, and that's, in part why we're recording this, is to encourage some of our clients who kind of work with us, but not necessarily engage with us a lot, interact with us. The more interaction we love, because it's more conversation, more ideas can be stimulated from that. But there's other builders that are not working with us at the moment or not yet, or they've worked with us in the past and they want to come back and work with us again. Those conversations are ongoing. And so that's also important for me to hear, okay, what has worked? For example, I had a chat with a builder 6 months ago, 9 months ago, and, not ready to come on board, had a chat, gave them some ideas. And he went away and implemented those ideas. 4 to 6 months later, we caught up again, big shift. We caught up again, 2-3 months after that, continual growth. He's looking to come on board maybe next month. So lots of those chats, and just want to try and share more of that. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what gets weaved in and throughout all our podcasts.
That's right.
But maybe looking at creating a dedicated podcast to go, let's try and condense as much of this as possible.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like the heavy hitters, the golden nuggets all put into one. Yeah, that's great. And that kind of leads us into today's podcast, which is I'm quite excited for, because there's 5 different topics that we're going to be covering.
There's a lot more, but 5 for today, yeah.
Yeah, because we're trying to condense it so that you can walk away from this podcast today going, okay, cool, I got 5 different ways. I'm thinking differently in 5 different directions or whatever. But to get the first one going today, and that is, let's start with what's the difference between internet opportunities and referrals?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Why do you think they're different?
They are very, very different. Anyone who's ever spent time in sales, if they sat down and was posed the question, is there a difference between an internet lead or an opportunity that's coming to you via the internet? That's how they found out about you. That's what they've come to be aware of you and with which they're reaching out to you through, versus let's say example, in a referral. Those are two very different leads, two very different opportunities there. Now, most builders would appreciate, or they say, I love the referrals. They're the best. Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
They are coming to you. Let's assume it's a very hot lead. So we're assuming that, just to create some differentiation here, let's assume they are a really good friend of someone you've built for. You finished building for a client 6 months ago. It was a 10-month build, 6 to 10 months of planning prior to that, designs, all that. So you spent, let's call it all up 2 years with this client of yours. This long-term friend of theirs has been friends with them for a decade. So for 2 years, while you were building relationship, building trust, enjoying these interactions with your client, and then executing on that, and now they've lived in their home for 6 months and they absolutely love it, their best friend has been around, 4 or 5 times.
That's
during
right.
that 6 months. Barbecues, kids play together.
Yeah.
Come around for dinner, all sorts, games night, whatever you guys like doing, watching the footy, and your home's really entertaining. They love entertaining, and they've experienced the home, but they also experienced everything you shared with them throughout the 2 years. 2 years prior, and also 2 years ago, they were also thinking of buying, but they made a short-term, let's say 2.5 year investment, and they've now been paid out. Now they're ready to go.
That's right.
But they've been watching you very closely through the lens of your past client, the mutual friend. Very hot lead. Very, very hot.
The trust and the confidence there.
The trust is there. They've almost lived it and experienced it themselves.
As well, yeah.
So when you think of a referral like that, amazing.
That's like the optimal.
That's the optimal
Perfect.
referral.
Yep. Okay, cool.
The other, you might also get a referral, let's say on the other end of the spectrum, which is your subby, one of your subbies, a mate of his says, hey, family and I wanted to build a house or renovate a house. Who do you recommend? He recommends you. And the person reaches out just based on the word of his mate, the subby. Also good. Subby says, yeah, I've been working for ages. He's good. He'll look after you. That's also great. But there's understandably a bit more work that needs to be done there because the person hasn't followed you as closely.
That's right.
Then we look at, okay, that's 2 examples there of referrals, very common. And then we look at a internet lead, someone who is potentially interested in building, might be ready right now. Unlikely though, because if you looked at the total number of people who are on the internet who potentially would be in a position to, let's say, over 18 to do a job, majority of the people who are on the internet aren't going to do a job, aren't going to build a home. Not now. Possibly the next 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. So there's just more people out there, just based on that, which means then you increase the chances, more likely that someone is going to be consuming your content earlier on. If you look at it in terms of a filter or an upside down pyramid, at the top end, you've got the entire people who are on the internet. And then as you go down, you're going to have people who are on the internet, old enough, and would build a home at some stage. And then you're going to have people who are on the internet, old enough, have the money and ready to do a job in the next 2 years. And it's going to be filtered down, right down to, okay, this is someone who loves you, wants to reach out to you. But in saying that, you're going to have someone who comes across, and this is, we educate a lot of our builders on this, is you're going to have someone who comes across your content and he goes, whoa, this is amazing. I like what I'm seeing here. We're looking at building at some stage in the future. Often when someone starts to think like that and he's willing to start consuming builder-specific content, I would probably say they're within 5 years of building. Very safe. So there's someone who might download some of your material. We create some of that material for our builders, that sort of front of the funnel, if you want to call it that. That person consumes that information. They go, wow, this is awesome. That's an opportunity.
That's
but
right.
that opportunity has maybe seen 1 or 2 or 10 bits of content online, because also it takes a few touch points before they take action. So they've seen a few photos, maybe some of the videos. Again, they may not have watched the entire video or videos you put up there. They watched 2-3 seconds, because we can set things up. 2-3 seconds triggers us to show them more content, things like that. That person checks things out, puts their email, name, phone number in, gets some more content. Now that person sits in your list, in your nurture list, in your CRM. That's an opportunity. That person has shown interest. They are willing or wanting to do some sort of work with you in the future, or some work in the future. When you pick up the phone, and we strongly recommend our guys, any opportunity that comes through to you, whether they're just checking stuff out, they're just downloading some content, they're probably not expecting a call them. Or get someone in your office to call them. But maybe you as the business owner should do the first few calls and just suss out how these calls feel and what can be said and what can be discussed in those calls. But approach that very differently. That's very different from the referral. That's someone who's, I like what I saw, but probably going to be a bit cold on the call. So it's just about reaching out and just saying, hey, I saw you check something out. Would love to hear your feedback. One, did you receive the content that the system would have sent through? Did you find it valuable? We put a lot of time and effort into creating that and making sure that it's as valuable as possible. How have you found that? And then, assume that person is hasn't consumed the content. They're busy. They downloaded it while they were waiting in line at a stop street. Whatever. While they're walking through the shops, they saw that looks nice. I put my, their name, email, phone number. These days, probably autofills. So it's boom, in, done. Awesome. Now that asset is now in my inbox. That PDF or whatever it is, I'll go check it out when I get home. Things get busy. A day later, you call them. They haven't consumed it. Possibly don't even remember you. That's fine. But that is another opportunity. But it's going to look and feel and smell very differently. And so the process around nurturing that is also going to look very different.
Yeah. So are you basically saying like a referral is optimal, and that sometimes the trust is already there?
Yeah.
There's not that much that you've got to kind of work out to gain that trust. But like an internet opportunity, there's already that like a liking, oh yeah, I like what I see, but there needs like a bit more work done and effort to convert that person to go, man, I trust and I'm really excited to build with you.
Totally. And I'm willing to give this person this build a time and divulge my scenario, my situation, my budget, my desires, my fears. That takes time. I've given 2 very opposite ends of the spectrum of opportunities.
Yes. But you need to look at all of that though.
All that.
You need to.
And then if you go somewhere in the middle of that is going to be an online inquiry. So someone who's obviously consumed enough. Now, again, this person may have just come across you and gone, oh, we're looking for a builder. Inquiry. Boom, done. Again, their level of understanding of you, comprehension of you, how they value and perceive you is going to be quite shallow because they've hardly consumed much compared to someone who's consumed you, watched your content, followed you for 6 months, 2 years. Now they reach out. Very, very different. We've also helped a lot of our builders actually, going back to that referral example, that level of trust and engagement can be created online as well. It just takes longer. And you got to have long form content for someone to spend time with you. There needs to be content there for them to consume that's going to be doing a lot of that trust building and relationship building. But yeah, just to give you an idea, so in there as well is, online inquiries and everything else in between. You get other sorts of opportunities coming your way.
That's good. And so, great. I think that gives a really good context of the spectrum, which is good to understand because you've got to hit referrals, but you've also got to to work on these internet opportunities because there's a lot that comes through.
And I can understand a lot of guys we talk to might be hesitant to call the opportunity because they think, there's no point.
I don't want to be salesy.
I don't want to be salesy. If they're really interested, they would call me. They would fill out an inquiry, and it's like, man, how often have you thought I would really like X, Y, and Z? I want that product. I just need to get to sitting down and thinking about how exactly I want it, or I can't think of an example
And
here.
questions.
But questions. I don't know what to ask, which that's a massive one.
Like, where
I don't know
do I
what
even start?
Yeah, because I don't know what to ask. I don't know where to start. Therefore, I don't reach out yet. But if the person reached out to you and a very soft approach was like, hey, I saw you were interested. Is this something that you're looking at doing sometime in the future or sooner rather than later? Or a lot of our builders who've made that call have actually found that every now and again they'll have that conversation with someone and the person thanks them. Thank you for reaching out. I've been meaning to get in touch with you. I've loved your content. We've been following it for a while. We've just been super busy. You know what? Like, we're also going away in a week's time for like 2 weeks. Can we set up a meeting after that? They like you as a builder. They want to work with you. They're just, life's busy and life's getting busier and busier, especially for families.
Exactly.
We both know that. So a lot of our builders know that too. So appreciating that and going, and you never know what opportunity is going to come from making that call. Don't waste the opportunity. But again, I know other guys who are like, no, I'm not going to bother calling because it's if they really wanted me, they'd reach out to me. Yeah. It's a different market. This is not post COVID where things were booming and the phone never stopped ringing. This is different. This is more of a real market. Yes. A real market of there is opportunities out there, but they're not flooding your way. You need to take action. And that's also why we want to record this podcast, because marketing, we really want our guys to understand marketing is an incredible tool if it's used to its full extent in all different areas. It should not be seen as something as I plug in, I sit down, and then I wait for a unicorn or I wait for a shovel-ready opportunity to land at my door. There are opportunities there that will come your way, but it is a fantastic tool, kind of like a booster to any action that you do take. So there's a big difference we see in terms of the results that we can help our clients achieve and how they grow. If we look at two opposite ends of the spectrum, the builder that goes, yep, I've plugged you in. Where are my jobs? Versus the builder goes, cool, I've got you plugged in. What else can I be doing? Yes. You're a part of my team. What else can I be doing to achieve what I want to achieve? Those kind of guys, wow, radically different. Yeah.
And we see that day in and day out with the builders that work with us, that the guys are like, yeah, cool, what can I do?
Yeah. And that's not just in the building industry. Funny enough, I spoke to someone in a very different organization, very different industry on the weekend. And I just mentioned that concept to him. And he was like, yeah, man, it's fascinating, isn't it? He was like, absolutely. He works with a lot of, great people in his team and other businesses and other organizations. And he's like, absolutely. When him and his organization gets behind or with someone, he said, yeah, definitely. That idea of, all right, I'm going to wait till it comes. I've done X, now I sit and wait. Versus someone goes, cool, I've done X, now I'm going to do Y, I'm going to do Z. Hey, how about we go back to the beginning and start from A, B, C as well? Yeah,
that's very good, Japes. So let's go to the second point, and then we'll try and keep them very succinct.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect, because I feel like that first one was very important to set the expectation of, internet opportunity versus referral. Yeah. And you need to do work on both. Yeah. We always want more referrals because they're gold. Yeah. But let's go to the second one, which is like, what are your thoughts on the work involved from like turning a lead into a closed deal?
Good. That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Especially for those people out there that go, man, I've got no idea actually how much needs to go in to achieve that.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that, because I thought that's one thing we didn't touch on in the previous topic. So the assumption is a referral is super easy. They're already greased. They'll just roll their way to a close. And that's dangerous. Especially in this more realistic market where things are harder. You have to take a lot more effort. That's a big thing we're hearing across the board. It's taking a lot more work to get a deal over the line. It's not just, here's a proposal and they sign. It's a lot of work. And so you want to have, marketing is a great tool then to support you in that. So any effort that you're taking, it's a very supportive tool for that. a lot of nurturing, a lot of education. So think of all the things that you want to communicate to your prospective client. You want to educate them on. I want to build trust with this person, but I need them to understand this and appreciate this. I need them to be clear on this. Now all of that can be communicated and achieved manually through you spending time with them, but you also have to do that with many different opportunities at any given time. Plus, you've got your existing clientele that you're trying to interact with and keep happy. So that's where marketing is a fantastic tool. And it might be certain automations you have set up through email nurturing. It might be through ads, retargeting. A lot of your content can be, and that's why we very much take an evergreen approach with a lot of our marketing, with our builders. We want that content to be relevant and enjoyable and educational.
Yeah, like value adding
to your prospective client, whether they're just finding out about you or whether they're halfway through a build. One thing I help a lot of our guys understand is you want, let's say you're email nurturing a client, automation set up, and we do that for our builders. Don't stop the nurturing happening for a client that then signs up with you and they pay deposit and you get started. Don't think, okay, I'll take them off the CRM or whatever. That relationship needs to be continually established and deepened and strengthened, because there are going to be challenges that come up in the build, and it's going to be so important. I'm going to make up an example. What if something comes up on a build and you have to have a challenging conversation with the client? Maybe it's a variation tomorrow, and today they happen to receive an email from you nurturing talking about the importance of trust, talking about the importance of understanding that, hey, me as your builder, we go about above and beyond, and there's so much work we're doing behind the scenes to make sure everything is done right. And it may be, let's say, very topic specific, maybe that email nurture, or the content that they're seeing, or the long form videos we've created for you, educational videos for you to put out into your market, is educating on variations, why they come up, but how we go about working on them. And we work hard to mitigate them. But if they do come up, we have a great process in place to work through it and find a solution. Imagine a client consuming that content the day before a variation comes up. Even better would be obviously well before that. But you haven't, maybe, and I guarantee you, I would hope all our builders have had the variation conversation with the client before they sign up. Very, very important that you go through the terms and conditions with them. But there's so much that they're trying to consume at that stage. They're excited. They might forget. And then when push comes to shove and they've got to, part ways with more cash, well, then it's a harder conversation maybe. But if they've been educated on, oh, wow, that's, okay, you guys have a process in place. Let's find a solution that really works here and let's move forward. Reminding us we're moving towards this goal of me having my dream home, my family's in the dream home. So that's probably an example. I've gone a little off topic here, but that's an example of where the marketing is really supportive in educating someone even past the close. So maybe rephrase the question.
Yeah, so the work, just paint a bit of a picture. In short, the work involved in closing a deal. So if we're looking at these internet opportunities, what goes in it to achieve it? So
let's say you reach out to some of these opportunities that are very early. So it's not even an inquiry. They're just having a look, downloaded some content. You reach out, hey, I see you download this. Great, fantastic. Would hope you, one, want to check that you received it, and two, that it's providing you the value. Oh, you haven't checked it out? That's no problem. You don't remember who I am? Okay, I'm ABC Building. We specialize in renovations and additions, second story additions in this area. Does that ring a bell at all for you? Oh, yeah. We're looking at maybe doing a project. Okay, fantastic. Well, how about I double check and make sure that the email gets sent? I've got this email here. Jenny@hotmail.com. Great. All right, I'll resend it to you. And Jenny, while I've got you on the phone, if you don't mind me asking, what's the reason behind you looking at doing a project like this? What's the why behind it for you guys? Oh yeah, this is why I want to do it. Oh, awesome. Well, how about I send that material? I know it's. Do you have a designer in mind, or are you looking at getting a design done? No, and the feedback we get from our builders is sometimes that conversation is going to be pretty cold. No, we're just looking. Great, awesome. Well, what exactly are you looking for? Can I send you some more material? Again, they might be really cold and say no. You reached out. It already puts you, steps ahead of any other builder that they're interacting with. But you are going to potentially also have the conversation where it's like, yeah, we're looking at this, and the conversation then goes to happen more organically, provide more information. Ultimately, you kind of want to get them to either fill out the questionnaire, and so you can better assess them, or maybe, depending on your sales process, you have a catch-up. So I would try and book something in. Something in. It might even be, how would you, I understand that you're gathering information right now, you're not ready to make a move. Would it be helpful if I reach out to you maybe in a month or 3 months, or and then if you like, you can just shoot some questions my way as you've gathered information. I know it's a big decision, it's a big process, and so a big part we help a lot of our clients with is helping them make confident decisions at that early stage. It might be around finding the right designer for their kind of project. We work with many designers, specialize in different areas. Sometimes certain projects don't necessarily need an architect. You can use a building designer or a draftsman or something like that. Again, depending on the project, would that be helpful to you at all? Now, if that person's generally wanting to achieve their goal, and there's a good chance they're going to say, yeah, that would actually be really helpful.
And I like what you've done there. It's like you've just kind of reached out.
Yeah.
Kept it very casual. You just kind of ask a question, and they might come back cold, then ask something different. And you're trying to just see how you can add value to them.
Yeah.
You're not trying to get them as a client yet, and they might not even become a client.
Yeah. But
you're trying to make their life better. And I think just that little bit there, people start realizing that you're not just in it for the sale.
Yeah, you're not being pushy. You're not, and everyone you interact with, have the perspective. Everyone you interact with is a potential ambassador.
Always,
but they can only be a better ambassador the better interaction that they've had with you,
yes,
and how much you've educated and informed them. So by that little scenario I gave you there, where you're talking to this Jenny, then Jenny feels like, oh wow, this person genuinely wants to help. This builder Brad really wants to help. And he seems well connected. He seems to know what he's doing. He seems to have a process there. Just those little things tick quite a few boxes, just in the kind of questions you ask and how you offer some help. And then, again, the person might be super cold, and you just say, okay, well, we're here always if you need any help or assistance. But try to just get them to, even if it's verbally commit to, would you like me to call you in a month's time, 6 months' time?
Yeah, very important.
When they say yes, great. How about what I'll do is I might send you just an invite just so that it's on both of our calendars, so you know what to expect when I do call, who's calling in about, a month or 3 months' time.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Yeah. Otherwise, you might forget who's calling when Brad calls.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful. Great. Awesome. Done. And you just think, okay, that interaction there and maybe a little bit of admin post that takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes. And you do that a couple of times. These are all potential opportunities you're putting into your pipeline for the future. Plus, all of those people who, let's say many of those might not become a project for you in the end, but you've had a great interaction with many people in the community, and therefore you're creating many more ambassadors.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're helping influence the next person that might come through your pipeline, because that person may have had a chat with Jenny, and they're actually in a more ready position to take action or have the budget to do the kind of projects you actually want to be building. But Jenny said, man, this person's been amazing. He's been just so helpful. I spoke to so-and-so. Brilliant. So,
and like, just to add to what you said there, like if you say, look, we're catching up in 3 months, and you might even just send them some admin things like, oh, here's a link to something to check this out.
Here's our story video.
That's right.
If you've been on a podcast, shoot them the podcast through, because that's half an hour, 45 minutes.
They get to know you.
They get to know you. Go deep. And they can't interject and talk about themselves. They just have to listen to you.
That's right.
Which that is an opportunity that never happens. I've asked that question to so many builders, and they always laugh and they always agree, never. Because whenever they interact with a client, they're asking questions and letting the client talk.
That's right.
Because that's their job. That's their role in that scenario.
Yeah.
Client and builder.
Yeah.
Very rarely, if ever, do they get to talk at length, in depth, about themselves, why they do what they do, and the client just listens and takes it in.
Exactly. And in that situation, when you're asking those questions, let's say you've got a few case study stories and this is what we have with some of our clients, where they've done several different type of like avatar clientele case studies. One's like an older couple, one's like a younger family, for example. And so if you're talking to that person, you're like, okay, they're a young family. You send them something similar, and then straight away they can start even imagining themselves in that situation, and you're building that connection, you're building that emotional, and that's where the whole power of storytelling comes in, in building that trust and confidence.
That's very, very true.
So I'm going to move on to the. Was there anything else you want to add in there?
A lot more. But no,
go ahead.
We can always be doing more podcasts on this. There's a lot of here to unpack. In that though, then there's ongoing nurturing. Obviously, you don't meet someone and even if they're hot, you don't sign the deal that day. It can take 12 months. Maybe they haven't even got a design in place and go through prelims. So there's all of that interaction that's going to naturally happen. I would go above and beyond those interactions and go, where else can I interact with them?
Yes.
Now, again, Facebook ads, retargeting is going to be a huge help in terms of just showing up in their world every day. You can't be calling them every day, emailing them every day. They're going to tell you to go away. But they do probably very likely go on social media a couple times a week. And you want to be showing up on their feed when they're scrolling, reminding them subtly that they're making the right decision. This is the right place to be. This is the outcome we get to our clients. This is the journey we take our clients on. This is why we love what we do. This is, so many different pieces of content you can create there. But those interactions go a long way in affirming this prospective client that they are making the right decision, going down this journey, going down this pathway with you, convincing them that they need to work with you. In saying that as well, it's very important that you're giving them the right sort of evidence to choose you and to build with you, because there's lots of negative media out there, mass media. Everyone who's got a friend or a cousin or a second cousin who's had a bad experience with a builder. It's very important that you are educating your prospective clients that working with you is very different. So when they are guaranteed you, they're excited. If they're engaging with you and going through prelims, they're excited about their build. And so they most likely will bring it up in conversation with friends and family. Now, when that comes up, there's a good chance that some people are going to be excited for them. Some people are going to be, oh, really? You're building now? Why would you do that? And who have you gone with? Oh, I've never heard of him. Oh, well, gee, you sure he's any good? And there's the conversations. And so if you can give them really great content to affirm them and go, this is the right decision, and even content to the point where they go, oh, no, sure, your second cousin had a bad experience. You don't know who our builder is. Let me send you some content on who this guy is. Very, very different scenario there. But you need to have the content to send them that. That's educational, that they want, that's appealing, that's all that they want to share, that they're so proud of saying, I'm working and building with so-and-so, that they want to get that content out further. And we've had that feedback from our builders. They've done that. So there's all those little interactions. There's lots of other interactions. A lot of our builders will reach out to me sometimes and be, hey, I've got this job in the pipeline. I had a chat with one of our builders on yesterday. And like, yeah, we've got this job in the pipeline. Architects kind of blocking us from interacting a whole lot with them, but I do have their number. I have called them once, twice and had a chat with them. I was like, great, do this, and see if they respond, do that. If they don't do this, then do that. Do this anyways, and then we're aiming for this. And so there's lots of those little things that we, but again, going back to clients to interact with us, that's a very, very specific case-by-case ideas that we've given that person. So we can't, that's not the same thing for everyone. And so, please reach out if you're needing help with opportunities in your pipeline and ideas on how to close and how to differentiate yourself.
That's right. How to stand out.
That's a big thing we help all of our builders with. How do we differentiate you in your market so people emotionally attach themselves to you more than someone else? And when it comes time to making a decision, they can justify to themselves why there's way more value going ahead with you than the guy who's 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, Japes. So let's go to number 3.
Okay.
We've got 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's actually a bonus. There's a 6th. Well, we'll see. If we don't get to the 6th, the next one.
I put there just in case. You're doing a great job prompting this. So
thank you.
I think 6, by the time we get there, we will have done it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 3, which is speed to lead.
Yeah.
Why is responding quickly to leads so important?
To make this super simple, like as simple as I can make it, there is a stigma out there that, and it was reinforced, post the COVID boom, builders take forever to get back to me. They're not going to get back to me. They don't get back to me. Builders, trades, there's that sort of stigma out there. So because there's that, there's great opportunity in that. If you can get back to an opportunity super fast, that stands out. And I've often heard from our builders that they've won a deal because of how fast we got back to a prospect. And even though that prospect reached out to them and others, and their price was more, and they got prices from someone else, they end up going with this person because at the end of the day, this person, before they even knew them, got back to them, was professional, had a process in place, communicated to them. That sets the tone for how the relationship's going to be, how this build's going to be. So for a builder to understand that the way you interact with someone before you even had the first conversation, while you're in conversation, while you're in prelims, that all dictates to them, whether you like it or not, how the build's going to look, how that's going to happen. So how fast are you responding to someone? How professional are you? Very, very important. How accessible are you? Now, again, you don't want to be, getting called 9 a.m., 10 p.m. at night and think, I've got to take these calls. No, there's a line you can draw, but it's about communicating. One of our best builders has that one pager that he goes, cool, when you come on board with me, this is expectations. These are the rules of the game. Or many builders have that in place, but yeah.
So what is, like, just as an example, how quickly should I get back? Give us a practical answer.
Within hours.
Yeah.
Perfect. Realistically, sometimes you're in the middle of something. Maybe you're in the cave and you're quoting and you can't get it, so then you might get back to them. But I would check potential opportunities, and that might be in your inbox, that might be in your CRM, maybe even in your social media, like DMs, someone DMs you and stuff. So direct message you or personal messages you on Facebook, Instagram. I would check that once a day, at least.
Perfect.
And I would be doing it sometime between the morning and midday, so that you have the afternoon to get back to them.
That's right.
That will probably put you light years ahead of many other builders that only get back the next day. And even saying, oh, well, I've got an email in place that says, oh, thank you so much for your inquiry. We seek to get back to you as soon as possible. That's good, but it's better than nothing. But if you call them the next day, it kind of says to them that I'm not that important.
That's right. They're excited. If they inquire, there's a bit of excitement there already.
Yeah, you want to fuel. If someone comes to you excited, if you can keep that fire, that spark, feel it and fan it. Very, very important. And that goes through to, we talked earlier about how do you get an opportunity to a close. We've helped a lot of our builders understand the dangers of the gaps between information sharing. So that idea of, I interact with you, I go, great, we're going to go away and work on a design or work on some pricing for you, come back to you, and there's like weeks in between. And some of our builders have expressed to us that there's no interaction happening in those weeks. And we just think, man, I'm glad you brought it up because now there's opportunity. That says that there's probably a lot of lost opportunity in your pipeline that you're not even realizing. We can turn that around, and we've helped a lot of our guys turn that around hugely, just on how you interact in those weeks. How do you? Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast just on that.
We'll do another one on that. Okay, so number 4, touch points during sales and pre-construction. How can consistent touch points improve client relationships? In short, what does that look like?
Well, this might be an opportunity to then express what I just said there earlier, because it is a whole other podcast topic, but that idea of how are you interacting and touching base with this person? So we mentioned you've got marketing in place. It's doing a whole lot of heavy lifting for you. You can't be calling them and emailing them and texting them and selfieing them all day, every day. They're going to get sick of you. So how else can you be showing up? You have to keep front of mind. You have to keep them thinking, you're the right builder for me. This is the right decision. I want to build with you. And also the fact just building right now is the right decision. Or I'm not going to hold out till a year. I'm not going to wait till pricing goes down. I'm not going to do my trip around Australia, then build. I'm going to build now. We can always do a trip around Australia later. Or I want to go on holiday. Because there's so many other things there. You're not just competing against another builder. You're competing against that person and where wherever else they could spend their money. So you need to convince them that they're going to get something amazing out of the home. And that's why it's so important. Once you can comprehend that, you realize how little weight building high quality, saying to someone, I build great quality, that carries such little weight. Everyone says that. Okay, great. I can get quality now. I can get quality from you in 2 years. No difference. Thanks. But if you're going to have an impact on my life, I would prefer that impact to be as soon as possible. I don't want to wait 2 years for that impact on my life. And that's where things change. But
Perfect.
there's all sorts of touching base. There's the formal meetings that you'll have. There's the formal emails that you send, gathering information from them, consultations you have. There's that's expected. And then it's about, okay, what is above and beyond? So we said about the marketing that's in place, that's doing a lot of the interactions and follow up with them, nurturing them, educating them, keeping you front of mind. Then there's all the manual subtleties. That's where things begin really shifting. And that's Pandora's box. It's great if you could just write down maybe like a few ideas, and then everyone on the team can be interacting with those different ideas rather than ad hoc every time, just for simplicity. Or just go, cool, we're going to do this differently. One idea sounds crazy. Those of you who listen to this and have interacted with me, you may have received a selfie video from me. That's something that I've built into my tool, and it seems to be appreciated. I get good feedback from that. A lot of our builders who've taken that on board because they've liked that way of me interacting with them, they've taken that on board with what they do, and they've had some fantastic feedback. Really helps differentiate them from the other builder that's just sent an email. It also means that the client essentially gets to feel as though they're spending more time with you. A lot can be read into the tone in just a text or an email. If you are sending a screen recording, webcam, of you talking, plus a screen recording, hearing a voice or a selfie video, they're interacting with you more and feeling as though they're personally getting to know you more, and can radically change the outcome of that opportunity.
That's awesome. I love it. And it's like you say there, sometimes even if things are happening, like the client's project is moving, but on their side, they don't know that. And if the team's having a meeting about, let's say you're having a meeting about this client's house and you're trying to figure out something in their house, the way you're going to kind of build this one wall or whatever, it's like after the meeting, go and just quick little selfie, and it's like, hey man, like we've just been working this like in your house, like how are we going to work this wall? And it's like, yeah, we're super excited, and the teams come together, and it just makes the client feel like, wow, I'm important. I'm appreciated. Man, these guys are working when I don't even know they're working on our project.
Totally. You compare that to the builder that sends an email and says, hey, thanks so much for the meeting today. The team will go away now and start working on it, and we'll come back to you when it's ready. And then 4 to 6, 8 weeks later, they come back and go, hey, we've put it together. Do you want to come in and have a meeting, or do you want to meet up and have a meeting? That's 6 to 8 weeks. They haven't heard from you at all. And there's so much lost opportunity there because there's so many other shiny objects. They would have driven past other builders, doing amazing things and gone, oh, wow, our builder's not doing that. Meanwhile, you're just not communicating.
Yeah.
And so we call that all that value behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of that value behind closed doors. You're not going to bother communicating to them, but there's a lot that you should. One example I've given to a lot of builders is just like as simple as a soil test. You think that's just part of what we do. Soil test plus many other things. Cool. When you get that result back from the soil test, even if you have a generic soil test results received email template, and you copy and paste that and say to them, hey, Jenny, got a soil test back today from I don't know who does it, the soil tester, the engineer, looks great, right on par with what we were expecting, and so we're going to add that into as we continue preparing things. Hope you're having a great week.
Oh,
just that email can be templated. You copy and paste. It's taking you 30 seconds, and that client goes, oh wow, they're working for me.
That's right.
You want to keep them excited. In 8 weeks time, there's a good chance if you haven't interacted with them, they've gotten distracted. They watched a documentary about a family going over to South America and RVing through South America, and now they're thinking maybe we should do that. The kids are growing up. We're going to leave house soon. Maybe we should go do that. 8 weeks time, they've booked their tickets. Like, you don't know. So what are you doing to keep them excited? Whereas if you're reminding them, hey, soil tests come back. We're really excited. The design's coming together really well. Can't wait to bring it to you. I think, you and your family are going to just love the space As the kids finish high school, and it's going to be a space that they want to spend weekends at home, bring their friends around to your home. Oh, perfect. That's what I want. Time with my kids.
That's so good. That's awesome, James. Man, like, there's so many things we can discuss about this. We got like 2 or 3 minutes left on this podcast.
Okay.
So we've got this point, which is marketing as a support tool. So how is marketing more than just lead generation?
Yeah. So one thing I haven't touched on here is networking. So marketing is not just there to, again, it's not to sit back and go, okay, well, let's wait till the opportunity comes in. Marketing should be there as a supportive tool in terms of proactive action. So let's say you're being very proactive in the action you're taking and reaching out, networking with new people. Now, commonly when I say networking to a builder, they think, oh yeah, architects, designers. Well, yeah, great idea. Let's go with that idea. So if you reach out to an architect and you have no marketing going and they go, well, who's this person? There's a good chance they're probably going to check you out before they even respond to your email. Let's assume you're emailing them. If they can't find you on the internet, they're not going to respond. Unlikely, unless you've written some incredible email and you've put a PDF in there that they've bothered to open. Meanwhile, they've gotten plenty of these emails every day. But if they go to your online presence, your website, your Instagram, your Facebook, and it's like, oh, whoa, this person does maybe it's great projects. Maybe I like the way things are shot. I like what they're communicating. I can see they're big on client journey, transparency, trust. Now, these are just words. It's big on how do you go about showing that, communicating that. And that's what a team are very good at. Collaboration. Some of our builders, we're big on helping them communicate this idea of we are massive on collaborating. It is always a team effort, and we respect all of those in the team. That's going to appeal to an architect that wants to work. And there are architects out there that it's all about themselves and they just want to do a nice design. But there are many architects, and we get more and more reach out to us through this podcast and through other means that say, hey, I like your content. It's really refreshing. Those are the kind of builders who we want to interact with, those that want to be involved early, because we do need that help. We're not professional pricers. We've had some of our guys go, hey, can you put me in touch with some of your builders? Do you have any builders in my area? That's awesome. And so we introduced, connected a builder and architect just yesterday down south. So going back to that idea of marketing being a supportive tool, as you start to reach out to these people, is your marketing supporting that outreach? So you interacting, trying to build a new relationship with someone who potentially could flow you some work. But it's also just part of you building your network and building your community, building your team. You might approach them and say, hey, I want to be putting together a really strong pre-construction team. And it's really important that we obviously identify who are going to be some great team players and we can work really well together. I'm sure you appreciate that. Would love to catch up and have a coffee with you about how that may look and whether that's something that you're even open to interacting with on. When they check you out, what do they see? Does that appeal to them? Do you look like someone that they want to interact with? Does your brand look like a brand that's going to help elevate their brand? Just from a branding perspective, does collaboration look good here? Or do you look like some home maintenance guy because you haven't updated things for 10 years? Same goes for retargeting ads. Retargeting, for those of you that aren't aware of it, if you go on if it's set up correctly and you go on, Brad's website, social media platforms, landing pages, then, you get tracked and then essentially you start to see them on social media. The more you interact, the more you'll see them. And so if you are starting to interact with, let's say, an architect, you're trying to outreach, get in front of them, they check you out, boom, retarget, which means you keep showing up in their world. They keep seeing you. So by the time you maybe follow that email up with a phone call, there's a more likely chance that they're not going to say to you, I've never heard of you, mate. Who are you? Oh, yeah. I've been seeing you guys around. Looks like you guys do some cool stuff. Yeah, we're definitely open to having a chat. What do you want to chat about? Oh, well, I sent you an email a little while back in regards to us just putting together a really great team. And it looks like, from what I can gather, you're big on, obviously, who you connect with. And so it'd be great to have a coffee and just see if there's first a connection here. Would you be open to that? Yeah, brilliant. A lot of builders are apprehensive reaching out to architects because they think it's going to look needy. But there are a lot of ways you can go about doing that where it's not at all needy. And I've had guys who I've spoken to who've done one little project, reaching out to architects who would do some massive jobs, and they were afraid that, they're going to not even look at us. And that massive architect was like, no, it's all about relationship. Let's talk relationship. Do we get along? The architect didn't even ask about their portfolio. But yeah, so that would be one example. Again, looking at it from a proactive standpoint, action, outreach, where it is a supportive tool. We've already discussed many concepts around it being a supportive tool during the sales process. But yeah, that's one area that I think a lot of our guys overlook. Well, not a lot. Many of them, once they understand it being powerful in that way, they then use it like that. So I've helped a lot of guys, given them some great tools when it comes to effective outreach and networking that they can use to track that action, and then know that their marketing is supporting them in that. Interact with one of our builders on Friday, and I'd just given them that tool 2 weeks prior, and they've already got 3 coffee dates set up with 3 architects. Just going through that process and following it.
Oh, that's exceptional.
Yeah.
Jabes, that's really good, man. Really good topics we've gone through today. And I guess just talking to everyone listening today, what stood out to you? What would you like JP to even uncover more? We went from internet lead versus referral, the work involved in closing a deal, speed to lead, touch points during sales and pre-construction, marketing as a support tool, and then, working the lead. So if there's one specific one that you'd love JP to dive deeper into and we can do an actual podcast on it, just comment below and we can get that going. But other than that, Jabes, thanks for all that today. And I believe there's a lot of valuable points there.
Yeah, hopefully that's provided huge value. And yeah, like you said, I talk to a lot of builders and would love to share a lot of what is working. So yeah, reach out. Anything else you want us to discuss, or particular, give us a scenario, like what would you do in this scenario? And I can say, cool, I've had several builders in that scenario and they've done this, or they've tried that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Epic. Thanks,
so
JP.
much.